Welcome back to Fox Weather Philly. I'm meteorologist Kathy Orr.
I'm meteorologist Scott Williams. We are in the midst of a heat wave. Temperatures have been in the 90s since Saturday, but on Sunday, we had some frozen precipitation.
We did, and you may be wondering, how could that possibly happen when we were in the midst of 90-degree temperatures? Well, our friend is joining us from the National Weather Service, Sarah Johnson. And Sarah, when we look at these numbers, Saturday was 91, Sunday was 94. On Sunday, there was a report of a snowfall. And this came from the National Weather Service. It was an unusual storm report. It said, here's a win for Team Snow. Thunderstorms passed over Philadelphia International Airport Sunday afternoon and produced small hail. Since hail is frozen precipitation, this counts as a trace of snow in our climate reports, hence the record daily snowfall report. While rare, it's not unusual. Here is a list of all the times a trace of snow was reported at Philadelphia in the summer months of June, July, and August. And the header on that says record daily maximum snowfall set at Philadelphia. So we took a double take. We're like, what?
Yeah.
Snowfall in July? Can you explain this? Because our social media department is going crazy about this, and we are too. I've never seen it before. Have you?
No, not at all. And I mean, I think the last time it happened was 2011 at the airport.
So how can this be? Because it wasn't snow, it was hail, but there's a little technicality here, isn't there?
Right. So on the climate report, there is a segment that reports significant weather that occurred. And in that report, it does say hail. It's not going to say snow. We know what was observed, but there is another segment of the climate report that is reporting snowfall, which for decades, this has been considered to be any kind of frozen precipitation. However, that frozen precipitation fell, be it through cold processes like snowfall, like snow, sleet, ice pellets, things like that, or through warm processes with thunderstorms and hail. So this snowfall segment or frozen precipitation segment officially gets recorded as a trace if the hail falls, even though under the significant weather that has been reported, it is listed as hail and not listed as snow.
But it will go into the category of snowfall. Is that right?
Correct. Yes. Snowfall being considered anything that is a frozen precipitation.
So when we look at the annual snowfall, it could go up if there was significant hail that was measured that was more than a trace, right?
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that is handled because, for at least for our region, it's not it. And the other catch of this is that it has to be reported by a human observer. And so not all of our climate sites have a human observer there. A lot of them are automated stations. So yeah, we've never really had that happen before. In our region, all the time it's been when hail has fallen, it's just been a trace. So that doesn't impact the total amount of frozen precipitation on the year.
Now, Sarah, this has gone viral on our Fox 29 website as one of the trending top searches. Has the weather office there in Mount Holly received phone calls regarding this report?
Yeah, we've gotten quite a few questions about it. A lot of people didn't realize, like I said, this has been the way it's been reported for decades. And so, yeah, we've gotten quite a few questions about it, quite a few phone calls about it. Yeah, it's interesting what really grabs people's attention.
Well, absolutely. I mean, when you're talking about snowfall, and that's also the way to phrase it. It's snowfall. You're not saying it's snow. We know it's not snow, but when you see the word snow, it's like, what?
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of folks are like, is this clickbait? Is this real?
Is this real? That was my reaction. Right? Is that the reaction you're getting from some folks that are residents around the area saying, okay, is this true or is this some kind of joke? Is this a mistake?
Right. Yeah, I think that's a lot of the questions we're getting is, since when did this change, or what are you thinking about here? But yeah, it is actually recorded as hail, but then it goes into that snowfall or frozen precipitation category.
Okay, so that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that. And when we look at it, Sarah, when you look at the list, it's happened several times, and I don't know if we were just not paying attention, but when you look at it, as Scott mentioned, it was August 18th, 2011, August 1st, 2011, 2008, 2006, and then you get into the 90s, and then between the 90s, you have to go back to the 1950s, 1930s, 1919.
Yes.
So we've been observing for a long time around here.
Yes, yeah, the climate record at Philadelphia goes back to the late 1800s. And so it's been observed a lot of times, but I think you alluded to it before, that this is kind of the first time it went viral in the social media age. I mean, obviously we've had some cases back in 2011, which is still very much in the social media age, but it's been a while, and so it's been a while that it would go viral on social media.
Yeah, and I guess when you look at those dates, we weren't as social media crazed as we are now. So 2011 was the last time. Now we're in 2024. So it can spread like wildfire, not just around Philadelphia, not just around the country, but around the world. So, and everyone knowing how hot it's been, Sarah. So it kind of makes it a little humorous and ironic, since we're talking about record temperatures and snow.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a fun topic. I think everybody's going to chuckle about it, and I think that's what we need, right? We need some kind of, relief from the heat, and this is it's not a hoax, and that makes it more fun.
We're thinking cold thoughts. We're thinking frozen water ice and different things like that, ice cream. So.
And snow will not be that far around the corner. But we did talk a little bit a couple of weeks ago when we had you on about how hot it's been in those climate reports as well. So we've been through this sweltering July, and now we're talking about a hot August on tap and potentially a hot September. So we're not through with this.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it really... We were kind of spoiled by a relatively cool spring for a lot, and then the pattern changed about mid-June, and we've been in this really hot pattern pretty much since mid-June. As you mentioned, we've had 3 very prolonged periods of excessive heat since then, and so it doesn't look like we're seeing any evidence of a significant weather pattern change. Now, we do have the cold front coming through tonight, so starting tomorrow it will feel a little bit better, but we're still talking about temperatures in the 80s, and so still quite warm, upper 80s even, but so not a significant pattern change, but at least a little bit more comfortable and not quite as dangerous.
Now, Sarah, last Thursday, the drought monitor came out, and parts of our area were abnormally dry. Do you think that this week's rainfall will help us out a little bit when that report comes out tomorrow?
Yeah, it may put a dent in it. A phrase we always like to say, though, is that it can take just as much time to come out of a drought as it did to go into a drought. So we don't have typically you don't have a drought that develops, in a week. And so typically you're not going to see a drought totally erased in a week. You really got to, it's a long-term pattern, and you really got to look at, the patterns over the whole period. What is our groundwater level like, and that kind of thing. So it may put a dent in it, but we're probably not going to see it fully erased because it is a much longer period. So it would take more than just one event typically. There's some extreme cases when you have like a tropical system come up and all of a sudden really dump a lot of rain. We don't want that much rain in one place. That could wipe out a drought. But yeah, so it will take probably a little bit more time for us to completely erase this drought.
Well, Sarah Johnson, thank you so much for being with us, National Weather Service meteorologist and warning coordinator. We know you're very busy today, so we appreciate your time, and we'll be watching the storms and watching for your warnings this afternoon.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, we're going to take a short break and come back with some final thoughts after this. We'll be back in 2 minutes.